January 1993. Halftime at the world's biggest game was bleeding viewers. 10% vanished before play resumed, threatening millions in lost ad revenue. The NFL's gamble was simple: one megastar with total creative control, Michael Jackson. But how did a single performance not just stop the ratings slide, but reverse it? The answer would change live television forever. Nielsen charts from the early 1990s made the problem impossible to ignore. During Super Bowl XXVI, a staggering 10% of viewers disappeared at halftime, flipping channels just as the league's most valuable ad slots came up for sale. Inside the league's New York offices, the term was ad leakage, and the numbers behind it were alarming. With each year, halftime became a dead zone. Audiences wandered, and revenue bled away. In 1992, Fox seized the moment, airing a live in living color comedy special just as the marching bands took the field. The result was millions abandoning the game, and the league's broadcast partners watched their ratings collapse in real time. Executives pored over the data. Nielsen tables showed a free fall from over 80 million viewers to well under 75 million before the third quarter even began. Sponsors grew restless, questioning whether their million-dollar commercials would ever reach the promised audience. Internal memos from NBC and the league described halftime as an afterthought, a relic of another era that no longer justified its cost. For the networks, every lost viewer was a lost dollar. For the league, the Super Bowl's claim as America's biggest television event was slipping away. The urgency in boardrooms was palpable. The solution could not be another nostalgia act or a bigger marching band. Something radical had to happen, something with the power to glue viewers to their screens, even as other networks plotted their own halftime stunts. Jim Steig, the NFL's vice president of special events, knew that fixing halftime meant more than just a bigger show. The answer had to be someone who could unite the country's splintered audience, someone with the kind of star power that made viewers afraid to miss a second. In 1992, Michael Jackson was everywhere. His album Dangerous topped the charts, and singles like Black or White and Remember the Time dominated both radio and MTV. Jackson's videos ran in heavy rotation, reaching millions of young fans who had never cared about marching bands or football traditions. Steig put it simply: they needed someone big, someone so electrifying that no one would dare switch channels. The NFL's pitch to Jackson's team wasn't about money. Instead, they offered the biggest stage in television, over 100 million American viewers, and a global audience stretching to more than 150 countries. For Jackson, who had just wrapped a massive world tour, the exposure was unmatched. His manager, Sandy Gallen, negotiated a deal that included a $100,000 donation to Jackson's Heal the World Foundation and on-air promotion for the cause. No other act could match Jackson's ability to cross every boundary, age, race, geography. His MTV-era appeal promised to reclaim young viewers lost to cable and comedy specials, while his reputation as a global icon reassured advertisers and network executives. The decision was made. Michael Jackson would headline the Super Bowl XXVII halftime show. The old formula was out. The megastar era was about to begin. At 5:33 p.m. Pacific Time, the stadium lights cut to black. A single hydraulic platform rose at midfield, lifting Michael Jackson into a cone of white light. He stood completely motionless, sunglasses fixed, arms at his sides, as the crowd's roar swelled around him. For 113 seconds, nearly 2 full minutes, Jackson did not move a muscle. No music played, no dancers appeared. The only sound was the restless hum of 100,000 people, waiting for something to happen. In the broadcast truck, director Don Mischer watched the cue sheet tick by, every second stretching further than the last. Camera operators held their shots steady, resisting the urge to cut away. Producers later called it the most dangerous silence in live television, a calculated gamble that dared viewers to look away, but made it impossible to do so. The isolation of Jackson in that spotlight, suspended above the field, forced a kind of collective breath-holding. By the time he finally broke the pose, the sense of anticipation had reached its breaking point. The stadium erupted and the real show began. Packing 3 of the decade's biggest pop hits into a window barely longer than a commercial break required a different kind of engineering. Michael Jackson's team, led by Kenny Ortega and Vincent Patterson, mapped out every beat of the medley with military precision. Rehearsal schedules ran down to the second, with camera-blocking charts taped to the walls. Each lens assigned a specific cue as the show moved from jam to Billie Jean and into black or white. The Rose Bowl's field crew had just minutes to assemble and strike the stage, so choreography had to be tight, with dancers and set pieces moving like clockwork. Jackson insisted on running full dress rehearsals, sometimes several times a day, to ensure that every transition, spotlight to moonwalk, solo to group formation, landed exactly on time. Ortega's diagrams show color-coded grids for every step, while Patterson's notes detail split-second pivots and handoffs. The result, a seamless medley that fit a 5 to 7 minute window, delivered maximum impact without a wasted moment. As the final notes of Black or White faded, the stadium transformed. A massive children's choir swept onto the field, their white shirts forming a living canvas around Michael Jackson. The air filled with the opening chords of Heal the World, and a giant inflatable globe rose behind the stage. Jackson's voice, paired with the chorus of thousands, echoed a message of unity that reached beyond the game. The timing was unmistakable. Less than a year had passed since the Los Angeles riots, and headlines still spoke of division and recovery. By choosing Heal the World as his finale, Jackson delivered a plea for peace at a moment when the country was searching for it. The performance was not just about spectacle, it was a direct appeal to the millions watching, an invitation to imagine something better. Press coverage the next day drew a straight line from the Rose Bowl's field to the nation's headlines, calling the show a healing moment for a fractured audience. For Jackson, the philanthropic tie-in was more than a gesture. It was a statement of purpose amplified on the world's largest stage. Media scholars have since pointed to this tableau, a pop icon flanked by a sea of children, singing for hope as the moment halftime became more than entertainment. It became a cultural statement, one that resonated long after the confetti settled. Nielsen's official count landed at 133.5 million US viewers, an all-time record for a halftime broadcast. For the first time, ratings didn't dip during the break. They climbed. Trade publications ran headlines such as Jackson Halftime Delivers Ratings Miracle and NFL Strikes Gold at the Rose Bowl. The press described the response as a phenomenon, noting that even rival networks conceded defeat. Media analysts called it a turning point, citing the data as proof that a single artist could hold a nation's attention. Broadcasters who had once dismissed halftime as a ratings sink now scrambled to secure bigger acts for future years. For the NFL and its sponsors, the message was clear. Spectacle and star power could not only stop the audience from leaving, but they could bring viewers back in droves. After Michael Jackson's performance, NFL production teams redefined what halftime meant, both on television and inside the stadium. Budgets, once capped at a few $100,000, soared into the millions. Booking a single globally recognized headliner became the new rule, not the exception. The medley format, fast-paced and tightly choreographed with every second mapped out, became standard operating procedure. Producers studied Jackson's show frame by frame, adopting its use of dramatic openings, cinematic camera work, and symbolic finales. The logistical playbook changed too, with hydraulic stages, custom lighting rigs, and coordinated field crews now expected rather than improvised. Sponsors and networks demanded spectacle, and the NFL delivered, year after year. Within a decade, halftime shows rivaled the game itself in anticipation and coverage, with stars like U2, Beyoncé, and Prince all tracing their template back to that single night in Pasadena. Today, halftime is its own main event, driven by the expectation of global spectacle that began in 1993. As networks chase ever bigger moments, the pressure to deliver only grows. One artist's vision reset the standard, and now the world still tunes in, waiting for the next impossible moment.